Thanks for tuning in to the Vintage Cinema Review. On this week's episode, we're covering from 1974, Young Frankenstein.
That's right. Frankenstein, Frankensteen,
Yeah, how do you say
Igor. You name it however you want to. This is a great movie.
I thought it was a fun little farce from the mind of Mel Brooks. You might know him from Blazing Saddles and Spaceballs. But Gene Wilder at his finest. Thought it was a fun movie.
Yeah, it was cool to watch. This one's off the list on Facebook, so don't forget to go over there and vote for these movies. And sit back, relax, and enjoy from 1974, Young Frankenstein. Hey, this is Dave.
Matt.
And Zap.
And welcome to the Vintage Cinema Review.
Where every week we review some of our favorite films from the past.
Hey, there ain't no late fees here.
Silence is golden. And be kind. Rewind.
See something warming up in there.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're knocking the dust off of something.
Is this oldie?
Yeah, another listener pick. This came in tied with Mannequin at a 4% vote. There's like 40 movies on there.
Yeah.
This one here is Young Frankenstein.
So when you say 4%, that's not 4 out of 100.
No, 4% of the votes out of however many movies are on there.
10.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
I think it had like 17 votes or something like that.
I gotcha.
Yeah. So this movie's beloved by a lot of the people, I guess.
A lot
that
of
listen.
people dig this movie.
Why are you guys saying it's beloved? Why'd you say that, Dave? Like what?
It's a cult classic.
What's beloved? Is this a cult classic?
It definitely is.
Oh my God, yeah. People swear by this movie.
Yeah.
Many argue that it's one of Mel Brooks' best.
He thinks himself that it's his best,
Yeah.
as does Gene Wilder, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
Gene Wilder's a good actor. Mel Brooks is a great director. Like he had some of the best comedies of our time growing up. Like his movies, Blazing Saddles,
Yes.
which was above and beyond its time.
I would argue his best is Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
Yes.
In my opinion, there's no question.
And that was before this, right?
Well,
Madeline Kahn was also in that.
she
She
sure
was.
was.
Yeah, she played a really good part.
You know what?
She was sassy.
The Blazing Saddles was just finishing up. They were just finishing up shooting for that when they came up with this one. So, yeah.
It was before, okay.
Yep.
So, yeah, Young Frankenstein, rated PG, 1974. This
We
comedy,
weren't even born.
Yeah, I know, right? This comedy horror was an hour and 46 minutes long, or is an hour and 46 minutes long. The release date on this, December 15th, 1974. So right before Christmas.
Yeah, just in time for Christmas.
Yeah.
Very Christmassy.
It is. Directed by Mel and written by Gene Wilder and Mel Brooks, and based on the 1818 novel Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, produced by Michael Gruskoff. This movie had a budget of $2.78 million. Box office, $86.2 million.
Dang.
What?
They made
Yeah.
86 off of 2.
Yep, 86.2 box office.
Dang.
That's why Mel Brooks is worth like $900 million.
That's
Yeah.
damn. That's good money, man. The juice is worth the squeeze on that. That's
Can you imagine?
Great return. Great return.
And this was at that in 1974.
74.
Yeah. So
86 million.
that's probably 86 million tickets because it's probably like $1 a ticket.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what
That
I
sounds
mean?
about right.
This 1974 film, several locations where it was filmed at, and they were all around Los Angeles. It was University of Southern Cal. The medical school scenes were there, Mayfair Theater, and then a lot of stages, stage shots like MGM Studios and 20th Century Fox Studios and Culver City. So a lot of that stuff. And
Silver
I know
City, California.
Yeah.
So they didn't record this in Transylvania.
No.
Okay.
They
No.
lied to us through movie.
I know.
Mm.
And they took a train there. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, how
From
about
New York.
It's entirely possible.
It's getting there, yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that stuff. So I'll turn it over to Zap for the cast.
Sure. The cast of Young Frankenstein includes, but is not limited to, Gene Wilder as Dr. Frederick Frankenstein, or Frankensteen, Peter Boyle as the monster, Marty Feldman as Igor, or is that Igor, Cloris Leachman as Frau Blucher, the housekeeper, Terry Garr as Inga, Madeline Kahn as Elizabeth, Richard Hayden as Herr Gerhard Falkstein, Kenneth Mars as Inspector Kemp, Richard Roth as Inspector Kemp's aide, Gene Hackman as Harold the blind man, and Mel Brooks as the werewolf, a cat hit by a dart, and the voice of Victor Frankenstein. Yeah.
How about that? Werewolf. Their wolf.
That's right.
Yes.
That was pretty funny.
Mel Brooks loves that. He loves popping up in his movies.
Yeah.
It's like a Mel Brooksy thing.
That's his thing. There's a fun fact about that I'm happy to drop right now. Gene Wilder had actually insisted that Mel Brooks not be in this movie. So Mel Brooks said, look, I'm in every movie I make. So Mel Brooks is in this movie. You're just not seeing his face. So you'll hear his voice and you'll see him dressed as a werewolf, but you're not seeing Mel Brooks.
So you think to Gene, he was like, take that. He's like, there you go. Not in it.
Look, Gene wanted for damn sure to do this, and Mel Brooks wanted. Gene wrote this with Mel Brooks. Like, Gene was the lead on this. And what the one condition Gene had was, look, man, for once, can you not be in this movie? I want it to go this way. It has to go this way. I don't want it to be like Mel Brooks slapsticky. There's definitely some slapstick comedy in this, but just I want it to go this way without you. Mel Brooks said, okay, I agree. But of course, Mel Brooks being Mel Brooks, he had to just push it in a little bit.
I think that's when Dave said comedy horror. It kind of makes sense for this movie because it is a comedy. Like you said, there's some slapstick in it, but they try to make it like a horror movie, but with a funny edge to it.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And I was looking at Mel Brooks's birth date and all that stuff. He was about our age when they were making this movie. So he was like late 40s at the time.
What is he now? Like 90 what?
He's 98 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's 137 years old.
Yeah, because actually, exactly. Yeah, you go back 50 years, 1974.
Oh, wow.
48.
Because I think
right around our age.
I think he's still in decent shape. I think he's still like out and about, and
I don't see him in public much, but he's still alive.
He's alive.
As is
Jimmy Carter.
Oh, Gene Hackman as well.
Gene Hackman got to be 90 something.
Yep.
He's in his 90s. He's around. Yeah. So, but
Joe Biden's still alive.
Yeah.
He's 130 to 37 years old.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll turn it over to Matt for a brief synopsis.
This is a monstrously funny farce. Gene Wilder, Madeline Kahn, Marty Feldman, and Cloris Leachman shine in the Mel Brooks comedy that is both a spoof of the original Frankenstein and an affectionate tribute to all 30s horror films. Wilder is young Frankenstein, a successful brain surgeon trying desperately to live down his grandfather's reputation. But on a visit to the old family castle, a mist-shrouded Transylvania, he begins puttering on the laboratory, aided by a bizarre assistant, Feldman, who can't seem to remember just which side of his back has the hump. That's a funny running joke.
That's a good one, yeah.
The result is scatterbrained but good-hearted monster, wonderfully played by Peter Boyle, who just wants a little affection, and maybe the right song and dance partner. Gene Hackman is a surprise delight as a bumbling hermit who almost kills the creature with kindness. Directed by Brooks, from the script nominated for an Oscar, Young Frankenstein is a screamingly funny mock horror film. Young Frankenstein.
Nice.
That was something special there.
That was. Yeah.
That was a brief yet not brief yet somewhat long synopsis.
That was not remotely brief, but it was fun.
It was synapsical, if that's a word.
It is now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I guess that's it for that. Why don't we steer through the movie a little bit here?
Yeah.
Which is in black and white, by the way.
The movie is in black and white, and it's excellent that they did it that way. You know, with Matt's synopsis, he mentioned that it's a spoof of the 1930s movies, which in fact, now while of course it's based on the idea and concept of Frankenstein, Mary Shelley's, which came out in the 1800s, she had written it back in the 1800s. The movies, Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Ghost of Frankenstein, anything else of Frankenstein. There was 4 of them that had all come out in the 30s or whatever. That's what this is. This is kind of a mashup of all of that with, obviously, with humor. But it's really a homage to those 30s movies.
See go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say much like Spaceballs with Star Wars.
For sure.
That's kind of what he does.
I was watching this movie again. It was... I'm saying again, but I remember it being in color. I was waiting for like that Wizard of Oz type moment.
Switch over.
Yeah, when I was watching it, I was like, when does this turn into color?
Yeah.
And that was how long I might have seen parts of this movie on TV. Or I know my dad liked this for some reason.
Oh, yeah.
He quoted some parts from this movie.
People dug this movie, man. People dug it. Hell, people dug it enough, obviously, to vote for it as highly as they did
2024
on our website.
Right.
So, yeah, let's walk through this one. We begin in Transylvania, where the legendary experiments of Dr. Victor Frankenstein took place. Fast forward to modern times, and we meet Dr. Frederick Frankenstein, Victor's grandson, who's an esteemed surgeon and lecturer at an American medical school. Unlike his notorious grandfather, Frederick distances himself from anything associated with the Frankenstein legacy. In fact, he insists that his surname is pronounced Frankensteen.
Frankensteen, yeah. That's the one thing I remember from this movie. For whatever reason, it came back to me as soon as I was like, oh, I do remember him constantly. That was the gag.
Yeah.
Like throughout the movie. Well, not the whole movie, but
Pretty much.
Yeah,
So,
pretty much.
A lot of the parts.
that, his name he wanted to pronounce differently.
Yep.
But,
Okay, yeah, because he was just trying to disassociate himself. And there's people that say that too when you talk about where they're from or the origin of their name. You'll say something and they try to say it differently. No, it's not pronounced that way, or it's it's this, not that.
I don't know about you guys. That first scene, like I was waiting for it to get funny, but
Yeah.
it was almost like the acting was good. Like it was like, man, this is like
Yeah, Gene
serious.
Wilder's he's a good actor.
Dude, it is good. I like the first scene where they show up and you see the corpse laying there in the coffin.
holding that thing.
And they're trying to rip out the box from his hands. That was good. That was really good. The let's see, we were talking about his ongoing pronunciation. It's really interesting, the twist I think that they took on the idea of Frankenstein, right? So they're like, all right, generations later, it's like, what if we've talked about this before on other podcasts. What happens if you're Charles Manson's son? Like, how do you live? Like, how do you distance yourself from that name? Do you change your name? This guy kept the same spelling, just changed the pronunciation.
Right.
Yeah, don't associate me with that. He didn't even pronounce it right.
That's
I know
right.
I'm related, but he's a different guy.
Priceless. Absolutely priceless.
Why not just change your name? Exactly. But that was funny too in this opening scene when the one student's like questioning him on all this kind of stuff, and they bring in like a guy like to do tests on. He's trying to explain like the different reflexes. How did he say it? It was like some are like reactive, and some are
Instinctive.
instinctive.
Yep.
And yeah. And they must have got that guy off the street like a bum or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, he's even trying to show too. Is like I have a successful career. I know what I'm doing. Like this other Frankenstein guy. He was putting volts and stuff into things and
Just wild stuff.
yeah. He
Same
didn't know what he
name.
was
That
doing.
guy's just a jerk.
Yeah, I'm smart. I'm a brain surgeon.
Yeah, don't forget the fact that I happen to be a doctor also, and I happen to know a lot about human anatomy. Forget that. Forget that has anything to do with the same grandfather of mine that did the exact same goddamn thing. Oh, well.
I like that he kicks him in the nuts, and then on the way out, he's like, "Give him an extra $1." You know what I mean? Like
Give
just
him
to
an
make it
extra
up to him or whatever.
I have
For a nut kick.
in
nut kick.
in that scene when he's teaching and the one student gets up and he keeps questioning and re-questioning Frankenstein. I have a fun fact about that student later on.
Yeah.
Just remember in your head, just pin that for a second.
Pin it, okay.
That student that just kept harassing him.
What was I guess we don't really know that, but I was trying to think because it did score high or whatever. People voted for it. I wonder what their ages are.
Of the people that voted?
They're thinking like high 50s, low 50s, late 40s.
There was one guy in his 70s.
Okay.
That I know personally. The rest of them were all few years, like much like the Warriors. There's people in their fit. There were some people younger
Okay,
than us.
okay.
There were some people that, it was. I think across. I mean, there wasn't any real young people that voted.
Dude,
for it.
That's what I'm saying. Watching this movie, I knew it had to been. That's why I asked. It had to been in the 50s and above. I think most of the people.
Surely most. Now, at the same time, I know that my wife is a huge fan of this movie.
Oh wow!
I could see that.
She actually owned the DVD and still
nice.
owns the DVD. I
That's
watched
awesome.
my wife's DVD.
Did she watch
of
it
this
with
movie.
you or no?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, didn't have time.
Well, hopefully she's listening. She'll enjoy our review of it.
I don't know.
We'll
She
try to
might-
be gentle on it. you know what I
We're
mean?
trying. We're trying.
This had a just another thing too. 95% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Correct.
That's a very good.
People dig this movie. People really, really dig this movie.
Can you dig it?
Exactly.
How about the knife in the leg thing? That was pretty wild too.
Indeed.
Was that the beginning? Yeah, that was. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of slapstick in this. There's
was an
definitely a lot.
Urban legend that he actually really did stab himself. But
Really?
Yeah, but
An acting thing.
they were like people that said that really happened, but no, it didn't.
No.
It was all. I guess you could see underneath that there was like that it was fake.
It's a fake
Staged.
knife. It's
Yeah.
it's a collapsible blade. All right. Frederick's life takes an unexpected turn when he learns that he has inherited his family's estate in Transylvania. Initially reluctant, Frederick eventually decides to visit the castle to settle the estate affairs. Upon his arrival, He's greeted by Igor, pronounced Igor, a hunchbacked servant, and Inga, a spirited lab assistant. Despite his intentions to leave his family's past buried, curiosity gets the better of Frederick.
Curiosity.
Yeah, that's what I referenced in the beginning there about the train ride. So in the beginning, he's on the train. They're like, next stop, New York. And then after that, it's like next stop, Transylvania. So unless there's a big bridge we don't know about.
There had to have been. I liked the almost immediately thereafter when they land and the guy or the kid wants to give him a shoe shine.
Oh, yeah. When he gets out.
Shine your shoes for you. No. I mean, there's an underlying...
So now get your fucking shine box.
Your shine box, right.
There's an underlying off-color joke with that, but it's. I thought it was pretty funny.
No,
pretty
it's
funny.
good.
Who was Igor? Who played him?
Feldman.
Yeah, Marty Feldman.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah, that guy with the eyes. And
Yeah, well done.
So there is a condition that I mean, they've written a song about the Betty Davis eyes. I forget what the name of the condition is, but that is obviously a thing. Betty Davis had it. Marty Feldman had it. Fun fact, I was working at a grocery store while in high school and college.
Giant.
Correct.
Oh.
The name of the grocery store was Giant.
Good call.
And while working at Giant, at one point while in high school, I was working as a cashier.
Ooh, working the cashier.
So this, I'm sure at the time I was working all the cashiers, trying anyway.
Yeah,
so
right.
this one lady comes through, and I'm in this hurry, just trying to scan all these groceries and just get it done. So at one point, like I'm just greeting the customer like you do, like there's the thing, say hi, do whatever, small talk. But at no point did I actually look her in the eye. That is to say, I never looked at her face. So at the time, one could pay for their groceries. Many people regularly paid for their groceries with a check.
Yes.
They would write a check and here's, okay, fine, no problem. Just need to, I need your driver's license so I can write your driver's license number on the memo section of the check just in case your check bounces, whatever the hell.
Checks.
So I had to, you say to the customer, okay, great. Thanks for the check. I need your license. So she hands me her license and I still haven't looked at her in the face. So I'm looking at
In
her
the face.
I look at her license and her eyeballs are popping out of her head. And I still haven't looked at her. And I say, oh, my God, I guess they caught you by surprise that day. And then I look up at her.
And she looks like that.
And that's just how she normally looks.
That's wild.
Dude, that is an absolutely true story. And I felt like an absolute ass afterwards.
I didn't even know who like Betty Davis was. I just remember there was a skit on Saturday Night Live with Eddie Murphy. And he sang the song, but it's buckwheat.
Oh,
and he was like, she died. Eddie Dabba. Dead on the dash, die. Betty Davis.
I remember that one too. So you're telling me that Betty Davis' eyes were bulgy like that?
Correct.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I guess they're big eyes.
Oh, just big, like saucers.
There is something that causes the suctioning mechanism that keeps your eyeballs a little bit further embedded in your eye. It's for whatever. There's some condition. It's not like they have big eyes. It's just that they're popping out of the sockets.
Popping out. One other thing too, on the train scene before he left with Madeline Kahn,
Yep.
And she's like, not the hair, not the lips. Like she won't let him do anything. Like he's trying to like kiss her, hug her, do all that. And
Yeah,
she's
this is his
hands up.
fiance for Christ's sake.
And she's like, they end up like
like most women.
yeah, right. Get off me. Well, they're not even married yet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, yeah.
But he's like they get to bump elbows, and then he gets on the train. But she don't want to give him any play.
No.
Before he's going on this long trip.
She's just, keeping it to herself. She's a lady.
Hopefully he doesn't find like somebody hot on the other end of the train ride, I guess we'll find out.
You
though.
mean like possibly Inga?
Maybe.
As played by Terry
Garr.
Yeah,
Who's
right.
she's foxy.
Oh
Yeah.
man, she looked good.
No, how old is Terry Garr now?
She was 30 in this movie. I like looking up the ages.
Wow.
Yeah, dude.
So she was 29, 30 in this.
It's funny. When he gets to the castle and he has Terry Garr, it's like, oh, great. And he's looking at the castle doors and he says, great knockers.
Yeah.
As he's
But
pulling,
as
he's pulling her off of the carriage and she says, oh, thanks.
Yeah, that was funny.
Dude, I'll tell you, she was not ugly in this movie.
No, Terry Garr's attractive.
She was definitely good looking.
So you can't say that today. You would say nice knockers like that, and people get offended.
They would not like it.
Yeah.
You can't. I can.
Right. One other thing too, fun fact on so when he gets off the train and Marty Feldman's like, walk this way.
I have this as a fun fact, but go right ahead.
No, go ahead.
No,
Is
you
it the
got
same one?
Yeah. Same one. Go ahead.
Is it the same one?
Yeah, of course it is. The fact that you said walk this way. Go ahead.
And what it influenced?
So the Aerosmith song,
Yes.
Wow.
Walk This
Okay.
Way, was in fact inspired by the scene of Igor telling Dr. Frankenstein to do the same.
Yeah.
Which is actually, so I'll take that into an even deeper fun fact, that whole shtick, walk this way, and somebody else follows them, basically mimicking their walk.
Right.
That goes back to vaudeville.
Ah, okay.
That was done on early stage days, way back when.
That's wild. Yeah, so I guess Steve Perry and the lead singer.
You're saying Steve Tyler?
Or I'm sorry, Steve Tyler and who's the
Steve
other
Perry
guy?
was Journey.
No, I'm sorry, Steve Tyler and who's the other guy? The
Joe
guitar?
Perry.
Joe Perry.
Yeah.
Were on a break on tour, and they went and saw the movie.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of inspired them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
He said break on tour, so Aerosmith's been around for a while.
Yeah, you figure 74, they were
Yeah.
at their... So I know Aerosmith had a decline for a couple years, and then they came back.
Run
so
DMC helped them out.
that was in the mid-'80s. They had a resurgence and stuff like that. Yep. So in 74, were they popping then, Aerosmith?
Shit, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Was it like Dream On? That was back then, wasn't it?
Dream On, I think, was on their first album.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
Did you figure that Dazed and Confused was supposed to be like early 70s? So they were big in that, right? That was the early 70s. They were pretty big. So yeah, I guess around this time they were doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Dave's referencing Dazed and Confused, the movie.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
Not Old Dirty Basement.
No.
As Frederick explores the castle, he stumbles upon his grandfather's private library and laboratory. Within the dusty tomes, he finds his grandfather's journal detailing the legendary reanimation experiment. Despite his initial skepticism, Frederick's scientific curiosity ignites, and he experiences a change of heart. He decides to follow in his grandfather's footsteps and replicate the experiment.
So he's not so different than Frankenstein, huh? If you want to call yourself Frankensteen.
Yeah, right.
So there was, as him and, Inga, Terry Garr, as they're exploring the castle, walking around, and they find that secret passageway behind the bookcase.
With the candles, yeah.
Did either of you notice? So the right candle is what had activated it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he gets stuck in it and blah, blah, blah. Did any of you notice that candle extinguish and then come back on?
No, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, when they put it back in place, and when Terry Garr says to Gene Wilder, put it, because she's now on the other side of this wall, like she's losing her mind. She tells him through the wall, "Hey, look, put that candle back in place." When he does that, it goes out, and then it comes back on again when he, after he lets go of it. It wasn't a real candle. There was some kind of. It's a play candle.
So it was an editing floor type of mistake.
Yeah, it's actually it was an aluminum casing with some kind of something in it that made it look like a
light bulb. Or something.
Yeah.
You know what? We don't talk about that as much on our vintage cinema.
Like
There's a lot of movies, that you see things like the one guy. I just saw a movie recently. A guy was hit with an arrow, and he was shooting it. It was supposed
Robin
to be
Hood.
No, it was supposed to be a. What are those things that the deep sea divers use? Those the guns with the
I know, just spear
but he went and hit the guy with the spear gun. But then it showed the guy falling to the ground. It had the hairs on the back of it, like an old fashioned arrow. I was like, what kind of screw up is that?
Yeah, they messed up on that.
Yeah,
was he holding the arrow in between his arm and his torso?
No, it's right on the back. But the guy shot him with the spear gun, and I was like, oh, that's a spear gun. And then it showed the guy going down, but it had the things on the back,
ruffles.
Ruffles on an old fashioned spear, or not a spear. It was even an arrow,
like a regular arrow.
Yeah, I was like, that's horrible.
The feathers.
I laugh too when Cloris Leachman's leading them through. She's the housekeeper, and she has the candelabra, I guess you call it.
Yep.
And nothing's lit.
Yep.
She's like, follow me.
Follow me. Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Just
See,
little
that's
dumb stuff.
but that's Mel Brooks, the genius of Mel Brooks, his comedy, and working with Gene Wilder, who was also a comedian at this time, very big in comedy. Wasn't he on SNL? Or
who was?
Gene Wilder.
Yeah,
no.
he wasn't.
He was not. His
he
wife
was married to. Yes.
Oh yeah. She passed away early.
Yes,
she had cancer.
Gilda Radner.
There you go.
Yeah. The book that he had, his grandfather had. Do you know the title? You remember it?
No.
It was called How I Did It.
Oh.
And I thought that was the OJ
book, yeah.
But that's actually what the book was called in the laboratory or whatever. And it was his grandfather's
nice.
name.
That always you remind that Saturday Night Live sketch. He's like, now look here, if you've got this guy running up and down
with the playbook,
and then this guy goes and does a circle
on the teleprompter. He
says,
spelled out, I did it.
Yeah. So How I Did It was Dr. Victor Frankenstein's book.
That's what it was called. But I think OJ did write a book called
How I Did It.
They had it was like a 101.
If I would have did it.
If I would have did it.
That's it.
Was
something like that.
Yeah.
The other suggested title name was Getting Away with Murder.
Is that what it was? Yeah.
For OJ, yeah.
Okay.
But then he was all like, well, if I would have did it, this is how it would have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, it was a two? No, wait. No, I remember. They're like, whoa, Jay, calm down.
Come on now. Come on.
Here's pictures.
Yeah.
Gathering the necessary materials, Frederick sets up the laboratory with the help of Igor and Inga. After securing a recently deceased body and an abnormal brain supplied by Igor, they prepare for the reanimation. In a dramatic and stormy night, with electricity crackling and anticipation thick in the air, Frederick activates the machinery. At first, it seems the experiment has failed, but to their astonishment, the creature begins to stir.
Yeah, this was cool. I noticed in this scene, I don't know if you guys caught it, when they're eating, and then Igor
Yeah.
is over there eating with a pencil. He's like getting the pieces of cheese.
He's just jabbing at it, and Frankenstein says, "Oh, it sounds like you're really enjoying it. That was a yummy sound.
Yeah,
you made a yummy sound." Well, no, it wasn't me. Inga, oh, no, it wasn't me. Well, if it wasn't either of you, well, who was it? They go looking around. I loved Igor lost the. He was supposed to go find a smart guy's brain.
Yeah, where did he find the brain?
It was
Was it like
Melvin something or some guy? Luther or something.
Was it something they had like buried in the backyard or?
Well, it wasn't buried, but he ended up dropping it and getting dirt all over it, and he was just like
scraping it.
Yeah, it's like, all right, well, I ruined this one. I got to get this other one. What was it, like the brain store, or was it the morgue?
Yeah, he went to. It was some guy's office because they had like a night deposit thing in the door slot, and that's how he got in.
That's right.
And when he went in, the brains were up on display, and they had this doctor's brain.
That's right.
And then the next one was abnormal. And that's when he asked him, where'd you get the brain? He's like, well, it's not this doctor's brain, right? He's like, no, it was Abby something.
Yeah.
Abby Normal.
Abby Normal,
yeah.
Or Abner. That was Abner Mal.
Abner Mal, yeah.
Yeah. Alas. Frederick is exhilarated by his success, but things quickly spiral out of control. The creature, although physically reanimated, has that abnormal brain which leads to unpredictable behavior, such as homicidal tendencies.
Great band.
And an inability to follow simple commands, and a fantastic performance of putting on the Ritz. The monster is swiftly imprisoned, but later escapes and makes his way back to the castle.
Where you go and you don't know, where do you go to? Why don't you go?
Taco.
Yes,
yeah,
Taco.
Yeah. Well, Taco, and obviously many long before. This was done. That song goes back to the 30s or 40s.
Yeah, it was 1930. I looked it up because
Is that vaudeville? It's 1930s.
It was Fred Astaire. It was Fred Astaire, but I looked it up because I was like, oh, did that Taco song come out in the 70s?
Oh, come on.
But it was 1982 that came out.
1932.
No, but the Taco version came
Tacos was 82.
82,
yep.
Right. But the Fred Astaire one was from like was it 32?
Yeah, it was definitely. It had to be in the 30s that came out. If not the 30s, maybe even the Roaring 20s.
Roaring 20s.
Yeah.
It's funny what like our grandparents looked at as like, instead of going to the movie, like they would go to see somebody like Fred Astaire in silence, just sit there and like dance.
Yeah.
That's true.
Like dancing was a thing where like guys, when they like in the 20s, 30s growing up, that's like something you needed to be able to do.
Oh my God, yeah, absolutely.
Like if you could dance, yeah, go ahead, Zap.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. If you could dance, you can pick up chicks.
Yeah, so it was like a thing. Like if he knew, this guy knows how to. Oh, this guy's a great guy. He knows how to dance.
Wait
like,
a second.
He takes me dancing.
But we lived that too in high school. Like if you couldn't dance, you're just standing on the sidelines at the high school dance.
Yeah, toe tapping.
And all the other dudes are out there picking up chicks because they can dance. They're not afraid.
He said, "Get your back up off the wall." Yeah. That's one thing. Yeah, that's another thing. When you're growing up, you wish you would have learned sooner. Like if I just said, like, who cares? Like you look back at it now. Like if you're trying to act cool, yeah, just dance, guys. Yeah. Just dance.
So the putting on the Ritz, with this basically, I covered a lot of ground here. I've already covered basically the blind man. So he's already eaten his meal. I should say had his meal poured into his lap. Mm-hmm. He had the glass of wine. Dude, I didn't know that was Gene Hackman.
Oh, you did not? Yeah.
I could not at all tell that was Gene Hackman. I had to look at it. I only realized it when I was doing the credits.
I knew it going in that he was in the movie, so I was looking for him.
Right.
So that's the only way I would have picked it up.
Very young Gene Hackman.
There's another guy, like I said, he's 90, so he was in his early 40s at this time during the filming of this. He might have been 40 or 41 or something like that. I think Peter Boyle was 39.
That would make sense.
Yeah, and like I said, Mel Brooks was like 48.
That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome.
But Gene Hackman. I guess if you didn't know, like if I didn't know, I don't know if I would have recognized him.
No,
you know,
I didn't really.
That beard and makeup was crazy.
Yeah,
that was just good. And look, not for nothing, I know we mentioned it, but that putting on the Ritz scene, that's probably my favorite scene in this movie.
I laughed when he go to him and he goes, how he did it. Yeah, that was good.
That was a good one.
That got a laugh out of me for sure.
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie, like I didn't really laugh at laugh out loud at a lot of things in it, but that made me smirk a little bit.
Yeah,
I think that's our generation. I think we lost it from the movies being filmed in the 60s and 70s to us growing up in the 80s and 90s. The slapstick comedy to us wasn't really a thing.
Yep. No, I can
like we needed more like what's that, sustenance, or there needed to be more to the movies that we watched growing up that would the boisterous laughing. And I think like our parents watching this would probably think, hey, that's kind of funny,
right?
You know, we'll get that laugh out loud type, but we didn't have that with this movie watching it now.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that too, and like jokes that would have worked. You know,
Yeah,
maybe back then
just,
aren't as. I mean, a lot of these jokes in this movie are all like kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? Where it's like sexual innuendo.
There's a lot of sexual innuendo in it.
Yes, that's a Mel Brooks directorial thing also.
I think that type stuff's timeless. You're always going to get it and laugh
Sure.
at it. But because they made a comment about a schwanz or something like that, which is like German for.
But I think we would understand more, like we all said about Blazing Saddles, the comedy and everything involved in that, to the comedy in a Frankenstein movie, which we didn't grow up with, was different.
Right.
Yeah. So I came up with older parents. And I mean, I remember watching movies from the 60s and 70s, like comedy movies. Like one of my favorite comedic movies is It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. And I mean, that was mid to late 60s that came out. And I still laugh at that. Right. But that comedy is very similar to this. Like it's very slapsticky. It's simple and straightforward, but Mel Brooks does have that certain touch, that little je ne sais quoi of his that he just delivers it subtly and just the right way. Like Dave, you mentioned that sexual innuendo stuff, or like any kind of, even like what was current at the time, not necessarily political, but stuff that was in the news or whatever. Like he just delivered it, like socially relevant stuff at the time. Relevance, right. I should not even socially, just regular relevant stuff at the time. He just delivers it in just the right way that it hits. Guy's a genius, absolute genius.
He is.
Zap, as you were saying, I don't recall that movie. I don't think I've ever heard of it. It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. What is that movie about?
So there's 4 mads in the title.
Mad, 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 Mad.
It is about it's almost like a mad dash or a crazy race movie where in the very beginning, a group of people watch this guy careen off of a cliff in a car. And this group who are individually, it's just a pair of people, a single person, another person, maybe another group of people. They're all driving their cars and they see this guy drive off a cliff. They go to see what was wrong with the guy. And they all learn that this guy tells them, oh, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars that are buried in this park, in this state, in this location. And it's underneath a big W, which is you'll learn later is the way that the trees are shaped. But
is it kind of like the movie Rat Race?
Sounds like Cannonball
Run.
Basically, so
but good.
All of these individual, I should say, then thereafter, each of these individuals or these little groups, it's this mad dash. It's this race, crazy race. What did you call it? What's the race?
Rat Race.
Right,
Or
it's this rat race where they go
Cannonball Run,
which I know is a Rat Race. I know is a movie. I just never seen it. Where they all make their way, come hell or high water,
to get to this point,
to get to this point, and they all end up getting there, and they all end up finding the money. But this one corrupt cop who knew about this as well, he ends up taking the money, makes this crazy mad dash to try to escape with it, and then he gets caught.
Okay,
dude, it's good.
And it's a comedy,
dude. It's a comedy. Awesome. It is a star-studded cast, absolutely star-studded cast. I'm not going to go through it. We're doing Frankensteen right now, but dude, don't sleep on It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
Awesome.
I would love to cover that movie. That's a good one. All right, speaking of movies, as we progress, Frederick's affection for the creature grows. He realizes that the creature's erratic behavior is not its fault, but a result of the abnormal brain. Abnormal brain.
Normal.
Determined to correct his mistake, Frederick prepares for a second daring experiment. a brain transfer procedure to replace the abnormal brain with a normal one. In a nail-biting climax, the villagers storm the castle as Frederick completes the risky procedure. Just as the mob breaks in, expecting to find a monster rampaging, they are met with a surprisingly calm and articulate creature. Frederick's experiment is a success.
And that's a throwback to Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, much like the original.
Same thing as the original,
Yep.
just a great thing. Oh, of course, yeah, to have the guy talking in, very well-spoken declarative sentences is just awesome.
Yeah, I had to laugh too. I don't know. I'm pretty sure this scene had already happened with Madeline Kahn, who shows up to the castle looking for Gene Wilder and his fiance, and finds the monster or whatever, and they end up hooking up.
Oh, they definitely end up hooking up. She sang that song. It has to start with it's I've heard this song sung a million times, and now I'm forgetting the goddamn name of it. It's that.
How's it go?
It's I'm at a loss.
At a loss for it. But
I would also do it an incredible injustice if I tried to sing it.
That's all part of this whole. We're just trying, man.
But they reference like Dr. Frankenstein, or however he says it, reference at one point that Frankenstein, that his member is pretty large.
Correct. So because the monster is the monster's member is large. So because the monster is 7 feet something tall, they had to have everything that would otherwise be, correspond.
It has to be the same, exactly.
Everything's done in proportion.
So
proportional,
this guy has a big, I forget, Schwarzenhofer or something.
So they go at it, and then he hears the music playing, and she's like, oh, and he gets up and leaves. She's all mad. Just like a normal man, 7 or 8 quick ones, and you're on your way. You know what I mean? Basically, he's out of there. But that music playing, I guess they were playing that violin music, and it kind of gets him, to follow. And it had me thinking about that yacht rock thing I sent you. They were like, they were showing like anytime like an old guy hears yacht rock, like they'll turn whatever they're doing, like, and they hear like the beginning of one of those songs.
It's
like,
true.
Grabs your attention.
Yeah, they're trying to dig it. Like, oh man, it's taking me back.
I can tell you, it does that for me. I love yacht rock. I cannot get enough yacht rock. My channel, my Sirius XM channel 17, will not change for until after Labor Day.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. Yes, excellent.
Right. But that scene had me laughing. And I'm assuming that already happened in this part of the movie because by now.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. They've definitely done the dirty dog.
Right.
The monster had his way.
He did the Frankensteen on her.
He did. And she loved it.
Yeah, she was into it.
She was afraid at first, but then she said, dang.
Right.
Look at the size of your Johnson.
One other little dumb joke, too, with Igor. He goes, Gene Wilder goes, help with the bags. he thinks he's talking about the 2 girls.
That's right. That's right.
The bags.
Yeah.
See, that's that old school comedy where you got to think twice.
Right.
About
the old bags.
Mm-hmm.
I like that stuff.
In the end, Frederick not only redeems his family's name, but discovers his true calling as a brilliant scientist. He embraces his heritage and the love he has found along the way. And so, with love, acceptance, and laughter, the story of young Frankenstein comes to a close. Which was kind of funny at the end. Of course, you see so they've since done like basically wife swap, or not even wife swap per se.
Right.
Damn.
It is.
The monster. Well, the monster didn't have one to begin with, but so the monster first laid into Madeline Kahn because she had,
she wanted it. She
had actually said when the monster was approaching her, she'd said, "Oh, I'm still, I'm saving myself, or I'm doing whatever." So whatever. So yeah. So he, nailed her first and claimed her as his own, and then Frankensteen ended up hooking up with Inga. Although he had been hooking up with Inga the whole time.
They were up on the platform.
That's right.
Yeah, he had no time.
But I like that at the very end too. It was like the last joke. So you see the 2 couples hooking up, and it's the monster first, and then they show Gene Wilder, and he's in the bed with Terry Garr, and she goes, "So he got part of your brain. What did you get from him?" And then the lights go dim, and then you know what he got. He got some of that size.
He got the size. Apparently, size matters.
Right, and that's what they were insinuating. But
they were insinuating. All right. I love the monster. The monster sitting there reading the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah,
come on, man. That was good. That was really good.
Why wasn't Igor getting any loving?
He got none.
None.
He got
none.
Because he got that crooked ass eye. Because his eyeballs
Betty Davis
are
eyes, man, are popping out.
Got that hump.
Yeah. That
Is the hump on that side or this side?
Kept moving around.
Yeah.
which was, of course, a running gag.
Yes.
Which would, again, just one of so many priceless elements of this movie.
Right. Well, I guess it's time for fun facts.
Ooh, I'll start out with a fun fact because
Okay.
I had pinned it from the beginning. So the medical student in the very beginning of the movie that's in Frankenstein's class, who keeps pestering him and peppering him with questions and, you know, talking about like Darwin and blah, blah, blah. That guy was the voice of Brainy Smurf from the Smurfs.
Oh, wow.
Which ran from 1981 to 1989, a Saturday morning classic for all
I
of
love
us.
the Smurfs, yeah.
Yeah, he was the voice of Brainy.
That's awesome.
There you go.
Matt, what you got?
Gene Hackman, actually, he won an Oscar in 1974 before he did this movie.
Oh, wow.
And that's what he took that role. He wanted to do something completely different. And that's why, like, you were like, is that Gene Hackman? You can't really, with the beard and everything. But they said, they asked him and he was like, sure, I'll come up with something. And that's how he did like his whole character. And but yeah, he's an Oscar winner.
That's awesome.
That's awesome, yeah. This is from Mel Brooks. I guess the studio, they were really giving him pushback on this being black and white. So they were trying to trick him into shooting it in color because they felt like this is not going to succeed if it's shot in black and white. But he wanted to pay homage to those Hammer movies, those old school horror movies and all that. So he was adamant, like, look, I'm doing it in black and white. I almost feel like another studio had to step in and, you know, finance it or whatever. I think originally he went to one studio and ended up going somewhere else because they actually were like cool with it and gave him the money that he needed to do it. But I personally think the black and white added to it.
Oh God, yeah.
You know what I mean? So I guess if they did it in color, I mean, I'm sure it'd still be a great movie, but I think that added an element to it.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the whole, like I said, the Wizard of Oz moment, and it never happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly thought the movie was in color. I had no idea it was all black and white.
They could have done it in sepia. That
Yeah.
would have worked.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
You know, this has me thinking too about a movie that's coming out that I definitely want to see because it looks like it's going to be awesome. So the original silent film Nosferatu from 1922. Starring, yeah. They are remaking. It's actually made already. It's coming out, I think, around Halloween.
Have you seen the original though?
Yeah, I did.
It's
I watched it.
it's odd but cool.
Mhm.
Like it'd be something that, like, it's like more like I'm thinking like Danzig videos or something. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not even like a real movie. It's just different parts.
It's gnarly shit. And that's the silent film.
That's the
Yes,
silent one,
yes.
yeah. But they actually made this one now as, you know, live action with dialogue. It's set like in that time, and I think it might be in. I don't think it's in black and white.
Is it like the 1890s or earlier than that?
Yeah, it was like in the 1800s.
Okay.
But the original Nosferatu was 1922.
Yeah, so they came out with the movie camera, and like the first or second film they made was Nosferatu.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds about right.
There's a show on AMC called Nosferatu.
Oh, for real?
Really?
Yeah, but they do it. They spell the name of it phonetically, so it's like NOS, the number 4.
Oh.
okay. It's like a rapper.
It's like a cool license plate. Or
Yeah,
Yeah, AT and then the number 2.
right.
Nos 4-2.
Yeah.
Anyways, whatever.
I saw a license plate actually today. It was funny. It's like, I can't read, but there's a guy saying I can't read.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty
But it was
cool.
on like a Toyota. Like, I was like, I can't read. I didn't get it.
Yeah, I think it's a joke.
So when you're talking about this movie, the fun fact, the original cut of this movie was twice as long. Like, this was the initial cut of this movie was 3.5 hours long.
Wow.
They had to, Mel Brooks was, well, look, I'm going to offer them this, and then they're going to come back to me, obviously tell me that it was cut. There needs to be cut. And so he'll cut it. But
Which today isn't unheard of.
he initially offered
3.5 hours is most movies.
a
Yeah, right.
3.5 hour version of this black and white movie. Like, what was he expecting?
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, it did say here that they had so much fun filming this, Mel Brooks included, that they ended up adding scenes to continue shooting because they just didn't want it to end.
Right.
They were like enjoying themselves so
Yeah.
much.
This had to be fun. I mean, this just had to
Yeah.
be a fun place to be, man.
And I did read that Terry Garr and Madeline Kahn, their roles were supposed to be switched.
Yes, I did hear that.
I saw that, yeah.
But then during, like, when they were working on roles and reading and stuff before the filming, they're like, nah, we need you guys to switch back. Like, I think you're reading for Inga, and who was the other name? Elizabeth.
Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Inga and Elizabeth, correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You got one, Zap?
Yeah, I got another one. Speaking of, so as part of this movie, like I said, the original run was twice as long. One of the deleted scenes,
Oh, wow.
the monster actually had a bar mitzvah. because he was just essentially just born.
Right.
So they ended up giving him a bar mitzvah, and they gave him the name because it was just called the monster. So they named him Frankensteen.
Frankensteen. That's wild.
Yeah.
You talked about Gene Hackman wanting to do this movie, Matt, and he found out about it, or I guess inquired about it through his tennis partner, who was Gene Wilder. So they would play tennis together, and I guess maybe he told him, "Hey, I wrote this movie or whatever," and he was like intrigued about it. He volunteered to play that
with the tennis courts. Ahoy polloi.
Right, exactly. He volunteered to play the part for free, so he got him money for it, which was nice. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because he just wanted to do a comedy.
Yeah, exactly.
Good for him.
And one other thing too on that the shifting hump, the Igor thing, that was like improvised. So that wasn't like written in there. It just, I guess it was moving around, and they were like, "I'll just go with it."
Marty Feldman just wanted to do it.
It's working.
Good for him. Yeah, it definitely worked. That was a clutch scene. Or clean scenes.
Mm-hmm. And for the people that love this movie, Putting on the Ritz wasn't the very first song. I think they wanted to do a like Cheek to Cheek. I don't know, Us Dancing Cheek to Cheek. If anybody, yeah, it was either that song, or they also had one, Sweet Mystery of Life, which I've never heard.
That Sweet Mystery of Life, that I think is the name of the song. Oh, sweet mystery of life. Oh. That's the song that the chick was, that what's her name was singing. Madeline Kahn was singing. That's the name I couldn't remember.
Okay, yeah, but they didn't know for the Putting on the Ritz part if they wanted to do that or that, but then I guess she ended up singing it instead of them doing it for that part.
She sang that. The original one that was offered to her was something else, and she had said no, because she had suggested to Mel Brooks, hey, since this is a wink wink implied sex scene, maybe it should be a song that starts with O or ah.
Oh,
gotcha.
And the first lyric is that sweet mystery of
That's
life.
pretty cool. That's wild.
Yeah, little fun facts, guys.
So I don't know if you guys caught this during the movie, but I mean, or even noticed it, but I read this before I watched the movie, so I noticed it right away. But a lot of the people in the movie have British accents.
Yeah.
And this is supposed to be in like Eastern Europe, Transylvania or whatever.
Yep.
So Mel Brooks specifically asked for that to happen. He wanted them all to speak with that accent because I guess in the old Frankenstein movies, that's what everybody spoke with, a British accent, which really doesn't make sense if you're in Eastern Europe somewhere.
No, you're going to speak like a gypsy.
Right.
You're going to speak with some kind of weird tongue that my jaw doesn't work like that to make the noises, but I know that every time they're done talking, my wallet's been stolen.
In Germany or Eastern Europe or wherever they were at. There was original poster art that they had on this that had they put a McDonald's up on the mountain in the background.
I read that, yeah.
But they never received permission to use the McDonald's logo.
Yep.
So they had to take it down. It says here the MCD logo, and I just keep thinking of McDevitt. Yeah. But yeah, it was McDonald's.
Oh, speaking of getting rights, that's why when Madeline Kahn was sitting there at her, what's the thing where she's putting on her makeup? There's a name for that. It's the little dresser that women sit at.
Shea Lounge.
It's the little thing where women sit at with a big mirror, and it's the thing that they're
oh my gosh,
their little makeup station. Anyway,
both my daughters had. I can't even think of it.
Yeah, it's those. So when she's when she's sitting at that and she's singing, it's not the Star Spangled Banner. It's whatever she's singing. It's not the Star Spangled Banner. Anyways, it's not. Well, it's not America the Beautiful. Maybe it is a Star Spangled Banner. They chose to use that song because it was open rights. It was free reign.
Oh, they didn't have to worry about copyright.
Correct. They didn't have to worry about paying anybody royalties. It was just free reign.
That's pretty wild. Most of the lab equipment they showed in this movie, and that was from the original movie, from Frankenstein.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, they actually, Brooks managed, he tracked down Kenneth Strickfaden, and he's the man who created him for the original film. So you figure this is only 40 years after the original. You know what I mean?
Sure, people will still be around.
Right, that were involved. They were probably like in their 60s by then, or 70s, but
he's
they're still around.
Looking for wisdom and experience. He found it. That's awesome.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty wild.
I just, one more is they turned this into a Broadway musical on Broadway.
Oh, nice.
And it was short run, 2008, 2009, but Young Frankenstein made it all the way to Broadway.
That's awesome.
How about that?
I would like to have seen
that would be fun.
So you guys got anything else up?
I'm all out of fun facts. I guess we're ready for our rating system.
Yeah, so late fee, return, or burn. Matt, you want to lead it off this time?
Sure. Like I said, I had no idea. I thought the movie was in color or popping into color. I had no idea. I don't even really recall. I've heard quotes from this movie. I'd return it. I'd watch it and return it. I don't think I'd try to watch it again or look for it. It could be my age. It could be, something the times we grew up in.
Much like the Warriors, kind of.
Yeah. I found that the movie was an enjoyable movie, just a little too old for my taste. Not saying that anybody out there who liked the movie has to be old,
Right.
but I'd watch it and return it.
Yeah, I think I'm there with you too as well, Matt. I'd watch it and return it. I enjoyed it. I went into this movie expecting it to be more slapstick humor, a little more like Blazing Saddles or Spaceballs, where it's just you're laughing a lot.
See, I just expected it to be really stupid.
Yeah,
but it wasn't. It wasn't.
No, it wasn't dumb at all. Actually, I like that. I've seen some of those old Hammer horror movies. I guess that's what they're called. And it definitely had that vibe. I thought they did a good job. I actually was kind of, like I talked about in the beginning, I was impressed with Gene Wilder's performance. I thought he did like a really good job in this. He's a good actor. And everybody I thought did well in it. It was goofy in ways, but I thought the performances were good. But I would return it.
Yeah. So given our rating system of burn it, which is awful,
right?
Return it, meaning I enjoyed it and I will take it back with as a happy person, and
refund.
Late fee.
Yeah, late
fee is, man, I'm keeping this one for a long time. Of those three, just like you two, I would return it. However, I would probably watch it twice.
Oh, okay.
I would watch it the first time just to make sure, just to watch it. And then I would watch it, the second time to make sure that I didn't miss anything the first time, knowing full well, maybe there's a joke that I missed, or maybe I didn't understand that joke, or maybe I missed this scene. So yeah, I would probably watch it twice and then return it. Dave, you mentioned about Gene Wilder's acting. So when I think of, Gene Wilder, immediately I'm going to think of like Willy Wonka.
Yes.
And the Chocolate Factory. So Gene Wilder's hair in that was like the same in this. It wasn't until his later 80s movies when he started cutting his hair shorter. His hair in this played such a part in his role, especially like when they're trying to bring the monster to life. And he's, now he's truly doing that mad scientist look with his hair is all popping out. And dude, did it
from like that kind of like mini flip he had in the beginning?
I was just gonna say, does anyone ever notice Gene Wilder's awfully terrible comb over flip hair that starts like an inch from his ear and he combs it way to hell over?
He was like Bill Murray in Kingpin. His hair kept flipping.
He was
around.
like,
are we doing that movie?
I'd love to.
Oh, that is. Have you seen that yet, Zach?
I have not seen Kingpin.
Oh my goodness.
We mentioned we were talking about Giant Foods earlier, way back in the day. The president of Giant Foods guy was named Alan Noddle. You may remember the commercials when we were kids.
Yeah, I do remember that.
He had the comb over from hell. It was the same comb over that Gene Wilder had, except Alan Noddle's hair was straight.
I think the comb overs were before like the bald became cool. Because guys, if they're going bald, they just shave it now, and it's like I just shave my head. I like my hair bald.
All them dudes on the TMI documentary, they all had that. Their hair.
Yeah, their hair was all combed over.
Yeah,
because you're going bald in some spots. They're like, well, I can grow it long on top. I'll just hide that.
Look, man, it works.
Not cool.
It works for DT, Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
It works for DT.
Is that what that's called? I didn't know what style haircut that was.
The comb over?
I mean,
his is like it's combed in 3 different directions.
Yeah, it's like a comb. Triple spot.
We've talked about this before. If you ever watch that show on HBO about the Lakers from the late 70s and the Lakers Dynasty show or whatever it's called.
Oh, who the owner, Jerry
West?
Yeah.
Correct. So the owner played...
Or Jerry Buss, is it?
Buss.
Yes.
Yeah. Played by John C. Reilly.
Yes, who does a great job on that.
In the first or second episode of that series, he demonstrates how to make that hairstyle happen.
Oh, wow.
Like he combs it forward, gels the shit out of it, and then combs it backward.
Yeah, that's one I have to watch. I saw that show and I was like, that seems interesting, but I don't have HBO right
now. He was a player.
I believe
he liked the ladies.
Truly was.
Who doesn't?
So one last parting word on this. So Matt, I understand what you meant. That I understand completely. It's just like with me with Warriors. I didn't come up with that movie. I know that it existed, and I know that other people might have come up with it. And I mentioned earlier, like I came up with older parents. So I'm going to watch the movies that they were into. And at the time, it was like 60s or 70s, comedies. So I mentioned earlier my wife that she came up watching this movie, but that's something that I'm sure that probably her parents were into at the time or had grown up with or something that would have, led her to watch it. So I can dig truly the aspect of, look, you really had to enjoy it as a kid to really to say that it's, a cult classic or such a favorite, because it is in fact something that you had come up with. You just were so familiar with. It's
to accept it now.
It's like
you have to have some sort of seeds had to have been planted.
That's right. It's like a warm blanket. It's like comfort food. It's just something that you knew growing up.
For me, Gene Wilder movies, the one that sticks out in my head from young, well, one is Blazing Saddles. My dad loved that movie, but the other one was one called Stir Crazy, and it was Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor.
Same as See No Evil, Hear No Evil.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Those two
was bad.
Those two together were like phenomenal.
Oh gosh,
they were just funny. And that Stir Crazy scene where they're in prison and they're walking down like, we bad, and they're walking through. I'll never forget that as a kid watching that. I don't know that my dad was into this young Frank. I know he liked Mel Brooks, obviously, because of Blazing Saddles, but probably because the humor in this was not like the humor in Blazing Saddles or Stir Crazy or Spaceballs. It came a little later.
Fun fact, quick little tie-in, since you mentioned Blazing Saddles. So we've all seen Blazing Saddles.
Yes.
And we know that there is definitely some racial jokes in there.
Absolutely.
That, to this day, anybody finds funny. It's just that people are afraid to talk about it anymore.
Right.
But that notwithstanding, Richard Pryor was a screenwriter for that movie.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah.
If you watch Richard Pryor's comedy, now that is some of the funniest stuff.
Truth.
They have him on, I think, HBO, Netflix probably still has some Richard Pryor stuff. But if you guys get a minute here, if you're listening, check some of that out.
Yeah, he was definitely like
great comedian and way ahead of his time.
Hell yeah.
My dad loved like Richard Pryor, and that's what I grew up watching, that type stuff. But
what did he die of? Syphilis?
No, Richard Pryor had like
he had cancer, didn't he?
Something. It was like, remember he was that movie JoJo Dancer. It was all about.
Yeah, I thought it was an STD something.
It could have been. I remember he got all messed up.
He was no saint. I know. Yeah, when the crack pipe blew up on his face.
Yeah, that's the one scene.
And he does comedy about that. He actually has a whole skit that he does about being addicted to crack.
Crack is whack.
Yeah, but a lot of these guys are tortured geniuses. You know what I'm saying? They're funny, or they can't. But look at what's his name that committed suicide.
Who's that?
Good Morning Vietnam. Robin Williams.
Robert Williams. Yeah,
Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Well, he was struggling with depression and stuff for a long time.
Yeah, and I think he had a disease that was gonna do him in anyhow. But
I guess I too would be depressed if I had tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah,
and was known worldwide. And
money can't buy happiness.
Yeah,
can't
that's
it?
what they say.
I just don't
it can buy a hell of a lot of cool things.
Yeah, I don't think you're shopping in the right places.
Yeah, you're missing out. Yeah. But it's funny when we do our rating system. I think when we were talking about that, and it just popped into my head. Being a kid, I remember the Terminator movie. I remember trying to watch that as many freaking times as I could before we had to take it back.
Did you
to
love
the
it?
video? Such a cool, I've never seen anything like it. It was I think Schwarzenegger was huge at the time.
Right.
And I remember my cousin he was dropped off at my house, and we watched it 2 or 3 times before we had to take it back in the afternoon.
Just can't get enough. Yeah.
There's
some movies like that for sure.
Just can't get enough.
But shout out to our listeners. Anybody that's going on there. I know a couple of you went on there and voted for some more movies. We're gonna try to stick to that list.
Yeah.
I know some of them we're not gonna love, but we know you love them, and hopefully you're loving what we're doing here, covering these movies. Some of these I've never seen or only seen bits and pieces, and so it's kind of cool to watch. But please continue to vote and give us feedback. Hopefully you're enjoying it.
And I'd also like to hear from any listeners if you guys would like every so often to hear a not so vintage cinema review. We can put something kind of newer if there's anything out there that you're really liking, or something that you think is a great movie close to that time, or even if it's a little newer but something that you just want to hear about or want to hear us talk about. Just let us know.
Let us know, and we'll direct you to the right podcast.
Yeah, right.
The podcast will be Tuesday nights at 8.
Yeah, right. So continue to vote, continue to give us ideas, and let us know what you like when we cover. So don't forget to find us on Facebook, where that list is, on Instagram at Old Dirty Basement, on TikTok at Old Dirty Basement Podcast. And I guess that's it for now. So we'll catch you where?
On the flip side.
If we don't see you sooner, we'll see you later.
Peace. Thanks for listening to The Vintage Cinema Review in the Old Dirty Basement. If you dig our theme music like we do, check out the Tsunami Experiment. Find them on Facebook. Their music is streaming on Spotify and Apple, and where great music is available.
You can find us at Old Dirty Basement on Facebook and Instagram, and at Old Dirty Basement Podcast on TikTok.
Peace.
We Audi 5000.